Welcome back to Clara's Creation. Clara's Creation presents a unit from Standard 5 English Weeds in the Garden. Let's have an audiovisual impact of this lesson. Once again, myself Clara Rodriguez, the creator of Clara's Creation. Welcome to my channel, Clara's Creation. This story is of a is about this story is of a little boy, or I should say, this story is rather about a little boy named Anshuman. So the story, I repeat again, is about a little boy named Anshuman. I regret there was a typing error. As I have mentioned, story of. It should be story about. Anshuman's parents were worried as Anshuman had developed some bad habits. Being parents, we try to give the best to our children. And sometimes extra pampering, extra love and affection of ours as parent can inculcate few bad habits in our kids. Similar was the case with this little boy in this picture you can see. Here a small boy named Anshuman. Naturally they began to warn him, but all went in vain. You can see over here Anshuman's parents are warning him to stay away from bad habits, wrong company that he's picking up and that he's staying with and whatever he's learning. But all the warning went in vain. Beating, scolding, warning, punishment had no effect on Anshuman. Anshuman refused to believe that he had developed bad habits. That's where the danger is, when we do not admit that there can be some bad habits in us. That's exactly when we start falling in danger. Anshuman had gone to his grandfather's farmhouse to stay. Now the next part of the story proceed further. While on his stay to his grandfather's farmhouse, Anshuman's father decides to take him out for a walk in his grandfather's farm. Here you can see Anshuman's grandfather's field. Anshuman's grandfather owned a farm. And here we can see Anshuman's father has brought him out in a farm for a walk. You can see lovely greenery out here. Previously you saw one video of Clara's Creation, greenery and village life and greenhouses. Now we are going to see this farmhouse. See the impact this greenery is going to have. He asked Anshuman to pull out a weed from the farm, from the garden. Now you can see here in this farmhouse, plenty of trees and plants are being grown. Anshuman's father is asking him to pull out a weed. Anshuman is easily able to pull out a weed. You know what is weed? A fragile part of a plant. So Anshuman is able to pull out a single weed, or you could say a thin grass or a single branch. He's able to pull it out. Anshuman is easily able to pull out the weed. A little further, they walk out, and his father asks him to pull out another field, which had grown a little big. As you can see in this, the sizes of the plant and the trees and the weeds and the grasses are not of the same size. So now his father is asking to pull out another plant, weed plant, which is bigger than the other one, the previous one. Anshuman does that also very easily. And he's happy, you can see daddy's giving me a very simple task. So he's smiling out here, you can see the picture. He told Anshuman to uproot the weed, making sure it had no trace of its roots in the soil. And Anshuman did that too easily. Now the warning given to Anshuman was, while he's uproot means pulling out the weed, be sure nothing is left out in the soil. The roots are not left out in the soil. Anshuman does that very easily. In the same farm, his father further noted the same weed growing into a plant. Now they are walking still further in that farm, and his father is observing. He happens to notice that a particular weed had grown into a plant, and he asked Anshuman to uproot that too. Now another exercise is given to Anshuman. This is the third plant he will be uprooting. Next day again, his father takes him to the farm, and now he's asked to pull out a plant. Okay, we already saw this part. Anshuman tried hard, but he was unable to uproot the plant. He tries hard, but as told earlier by his father to uproot that plant, which has grown a little big, Anshuman still finds it harder and harder. He tries to pull it out, but he's not able to pull, and his efforts go in vain. I can't, shouted Anshuman. It has gone too deep. He says these weeds, these plants, these leaves, you're asking me to pull out, it's gone too deep into the root. I'm unable to pull it out, exclaimed Anshuman. Students, are you getting the story along with me? And you are with me? This is the audiovisual library impact of the story. Then his father brought few implements, that is, few instruments, few uh, weapons that are used for gardening, some implements, some tools that are used for gardening to put out and dig out that plant. And after putting in great efforts, Anshuman manages to pull out that plant because it had grown deep. Later on, his father tells him, now while returning home, habits are like weeds. The longer you allow them to grow, harder it is to uproot them. So, when we develop bad habits and we live with that bad habits for a longer period of time, as we grow older and older, to give up on that old habits, to give up that old ways of ours gets more difficult. So here I try to give you an audio-visual library impact of the lesson that is in your text Weeds in the Garden, so that you have a better understanding of the chapter. I have, you can say, summarize the lesson for you. Certain dialogues, certain editing part, I have done it by myself to make the lesson short. It's not exactly the way your text speaks, but of course the content is same. It is wise to get rid of the habits when it is easy to do so. So his father is saying, while we are young, we are supposed to give up our bad habits because it's easier to break up when you're learning it in the beginning. So it's easier to break up your habits at a bad habit, especially at a younger age. Anshuman realized the truth behind his father's words. He understood his father's advice. He got the message that his father wanted to give him, and he followed it. Throughout his life, he never forgot this morning walk which his father took him out for. So the story had a happy ending. Anshuman had a happy ending of his vacation, as you are right now in your vacation mode. So you could revise this with the help of the audio visual impact, and you can say this is an audio visual library story that I'm providing you, an audio visual library book. You can say from one of the lessons from your text only, I have made it into audio form and a visual form. Okay, audio visual form. Thank you for paying attention. Thank you once again. I hope you understood the story. Stay connected.